Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast this week. This episode of the People Success Circle is titled, What I Wish Employers Knew When They Let Someone Go. Whether it's a layoff, a termination, a reduction in force, regardless of what we want to call it, even a restructuring, the actual act of letting someone go is a test to the values of a company. And there's a way to do it well and a way to do it right, even when it's a tough conversation. So if you have ever found yourself in this boat, or if you are a business owner or an HR leader who would like another take on what it means to let someone go well, this episode is for you. This episode is for business owners, HR leaders, and really anyone who wants to lead with integrity during a really crucial time for an employee. Now, I want to start by saying I've actually been laid off one time in my career. So I know personally what this feels like. But in addition to that, I have led reductions of force, layoffs, and countless terminations throughout my career. It's never the fun part of the job, but I have learned over the years how important it is to handle this with the utmost respect for everyone involved. You really are, as a leader, someone who wants to look out for the employee as well as the company. And that can be a delicate tightrope to walk, but there is a way to do it that really helps employees land on their feet. That's actually what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm going to talk to you about outplacement services when someone has to be let go from a company for whatever reason. So as I said, I've been laid off one time, and it was a total surprise for me. I was a regional HR manager living in Chicago, and the company that I worked for was in California. We were this satellite office, so to speak, in Chicago. We had an HR leader, loss prevention leader, as well as a district manager. And the company had tried to expand out in the Midwest. Well, over time, sales weren't there, and they realized that they wanted to cut the Chicago team altogether, which meant laying all of us off. There was no other job in the company for us unless we wanted to move to California. And for the three of us, it wasn't an option. But as I said, I was the regional HR manager. So typically in HR, I'm read into these things way before they happen. I know they're going to happen. I know the plan. I know the strategy. I'm writing the scripts and having the conversation. But this time was totally different. I was caught completely off guard. I was in my home office in Chicago, and my boss, who I absolutely loved, called my cell phone and said, "Can you sit down for a minute?" And then she just proceeded to say, "We're closing the stores in the Chicago area, which means that your position is eliminated effective immediately." And I have to say, like I said, I was shocked, but also I was just immediately overcome with sadness and fear. I think those are the three most common feelings that someone feels. So sadness, shock, fear, and often anger, right? That comes into play too. And I felt all of that. I just honestly did not even know what to do next. And the fact that it was effective immediately, meaning this was my last day, was even more scary. So the company did some things for me that made that blow a little bit easier to take. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about. So in that situation, I had a company car. Okay, so I had to figure out how to return the company car and immediately, completely unexpected, buy a new car. I had to obviously continue my health insurance. I was single at the time. I did not have a resume ready because I was completely surprised. And so there were all these things that went through my head as the emotions that I talked about. But in addition to that, I had like a new to-do list. And these were big decisions: to go out as a single woman and buy a car overnight, to do all these things that really would help set me up for finding a new job. But one of the things that they did that was just so kind and nice for us was they provided us with outplacement services. So if you're not familiar with that term, outplacement services is the actual support that you give someone regardless of the reason that they're leaving the organization. You give them the ability to go see a career counselor, and this career counselor helps them with their resume, helps them with their LinkedIn profile, helps them learn how to interview, and really just guides them through finding their next job. And I have to tell you, that was quite possibly the kindest thing that I had ever experienced from an employer, because they knew that this was going to be a situation that affected us all personally, and they did not want us to hit rock bottom. They wanted us to land on our feet. And so one of the things that they did was provide us with professional outplacement services. So I had, within a month of getting terminated, I had the ability to call this career consultant and start working with them to get my next job. And I didn't waste any time. I did it right away. And it was the best experience. So I often say to people, if you know you might get laid off, if you're sensing restructuring in your company or something is kind of, the rumor is, something might be happening, and you even sense that you might be getting laid off, I tell everyone to do two things right away. The first thing is get your resume ready. And the second thing is get your LinkedIn profile updated and network like crazy. Because if you can get ahead of it, then during this time of layoff, you are not feeling the need to go out and get these things done when you're stressed, anxious, all those things that I talked about. So, we know that layoffs cause those nerves, and we know that they cause stress and anxiety and overwhelm and all those emotions I talked about. So typically, if I were advising anyone, and if you're listening, and this could be happening at your company too, I would tell you, get your resume ready, get your LinkedIn ready, and start warming up your network way before it happens. But in this situation, I had no idea it was coming. And so the fact that they gave me outplacement services was a gift I really didn't expect. So I want to teach you what those are today, and just encourage companies to think about this option when they're going through any kind of a separation with an employee. Outplacement services can be given when it's a reduction in force or a layoff, also with a termination. There are definitely ways to use it across any time you separate an employee from the company. So what is outplacement exactly? It's actually career placement support during a time of transition. It is paid for by the company. So typically how it works is a company will call me, my company does outplacement services. They will call me and say, we are letting someone go, or we are letting 5 people go, and we want to provide them with the option to get outplacement services. And so typically the company will arrange that with the career consultant who's going to help in advance. And it's offered in writing to someone when they're separated from the company, so that the person immediately that same day knows, hey, here's your COBRA information, here's the details of your separation, and here's the plan if you choose to get this career support that we're providing. How I do it at my company is I do not charge the company for the outplacement services unless the separated employee opts in. So we give them the option at time of separation, and if they call within a month to get the support, then I would bill the company, but otherwise I wouldn't. And the actual separated employee never sees the invoice. Some of the services we would provide then would be resume and cover letter creation, LinkedIn profile optimization, interviewing skills training, networking skills training, because we know that networking is the number one way to find a job, assist them with gathering their references, their elevator pitch, all the things that someone needs to be successful. But in addition to that, we are someone separate from the company who can also provide some comfort, emotional support, and encouragement. We want that person, when they come to us for outplacement services, to feel capable, to feel like they do have a next step, and to feel like working with us gets them that so much faster than if they were doing it on their own. So you can imagine how an employee feels when they're separated, again, for whatever reason, and the company wants to see them land on their feet and start over fresh with support. And that's where outplacement comes in, and that's how it's defined. Let's talk about why a company would want to do this. First of all, it builds your employer brand. We all know that when someone is separated from a company for whatever reason, they're going to talk about it with people. They're going to talk about it with their past coworkers. They're going to talk about it with their friends, their neighbors, and their network, really. And so if a company provides outplacement services, they are building their own employment brand because they're showing the community that they do something nice for their employees, even as they're exiting them from the company. And employer branding is huge. That's your reputation that people think about when they think of working for your company, like word on the street. And so outplacement services can definitely help you exit someone with integrity and help them to land on their feet. The next benefit of it is that it reduces your risk. When people feel supported, they are less likely to find a lawyer, pursue legal action, and take things to court. And so if you let someone go and you provide them the support, they tend to leave on a more positive note. And again, it can reduce risk. The third reason that it's very beneficial for employers is it boosts the morale of the people who stayed at the company. Most people have friends within the company and they talk, and even the people who stay feel bad when someone leaves the company. Whether it's their choice or not, anytime someone leaves, there's change that happens with the existing employees who still stay. When a company can provide outplacement services, then the people who stay feel that the company did a little extra to help them land on their feet. That brings me to number 4. It helps the separated employee land on their feet faster. Again, leaving that legacy of values of your company that you helped someone, even if it didn't work out at your company, you helped someone land on their feet in a way that not only helped the person, but built your employer brand and reflected your company values. It happens often when I coach someone through a termination and they say, gosh, Mindy, I really like this person. I don't want to let them go, but their performance is not up to par. And so when we've got that personal relationship where we really care about someone and we really want them to land on their feet, it's a reflection of the values of the company when they give outplacement services to someone that they have no other choice but to let go. So what does this mean for you? If you're in leadership, you own a company, or you have decision-making ability in your company. And also if you're in HR leadership, normalize providing outplacement services to your separated employees. Even if you're a small business, even if you're just one person, outplacement does not have to be a huge investment, but it can make a huge impact. So if someone says, I just want someone to help them with their resume, we'll just charge you for that. If it's resume, LinkedIn, and the whole package, then that's a different cost. But companies who do outplacement like ours can separate that out. So it doesn't have to be some huge expense. In fact, it can be tailored to exactly what you want to provide for your employee and exactly what your budget allows as well. So at our company, like I said, we personalize and we'll customize them for you and what you need. We help employees gain confidence and regain their footing. And we all know that it's such an uncertain time in the job market. Companies are definitely still hiring, but it's slower because there's just so much uncertainty in the business world and in the economy right now in the US. So it's a benefit to them to help them navigate through that. Some companies will ask me if giving outplacement career services is in lieu of giving severance, and they are not in lieu of each other. It's important to know the difference between the two. Severance is continuation of salary for a specific amount of time. And this is mostly used in restructuring, RIFs, or layoffs, sometimes with terminations, but not usually. And our company does do HR consulting, and we can help you figure out, is this a severance situation or not? And then what that looks like and the agreement and all those things. But outplacement services can be done whether or not there's severance involved or not. So again, severance is continuing someone's salary, and outplacement services is career support to help them land on their feet. If you're looking at like the difference of cost, typically severance would be significantly more expensive than outplacement services. At our company, they start as low as $1,000 and go up to $5,000 depending on the level of employee. So it really is a reasonable amount to help someone land on their feet. So you might be saying, is this all worth it? Like, should I really be thinking about providing exiting employees with career support? And I can tell you it absolutely is. I'm here today running my own company, now providing this for other people because someone cared enough about me when I was laid off to provide this service for me. And so when you think about the fact that this small investment can leave a long impact on the person that you're separating and the people who stayed at your company, it's absolutely worth the cost. So at this point in time, in June of 2025, you cannot miss the economic changes that companies are going through. Companies are doing layoffs, companies are doing RIFs and restructuring to stay relevant in this uncertain economic time. So before I go to closing on this, I do want to say that if you are anticipating a layoff or a RIF or a restructuring at your company, then I want you to give us a call because we can help you to think about the options for doing this well. And if you are a employee at a company and you are sensing that there could be some changes coming down the pipeline, I just encourage you on your own to get that resume ready, get that LinkedIn ready, so that if it does happen that you are laid off or you find yourself separating from the company for any reason at all, I just want you to be prepared because we know that you're going to have the emotional stress of losing a job. And the sooner you can have your job search start, because you were ahead of time, because you prepared with that resume and LinkedIn ahead of time, the sooner you're going to land on your feet and be able to put it all behind you. As I begin to wrap up this episode, I just want to remind you that the purpose of it was really to help you understand what outplacement is and how you can use it if you're a leader to help someone separate with grace. If you've ever been part of letting someone go, or if you've gone through it yourself, you know how heavy this is. These times can be so difficult for everyone involved, but they can also be handled with dignity, strategy, and care. My hope is that today's episode gave you a new perspective on outplacement services, and maybe, just maybe, it nudges you to take action next time your organization faces a tough situation involving separating an employee. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review for me. That really helps my podcast get sent out to more leaders who could use information just like this to build fantastic workplaces. Thank you for listening to this episode of the People Success Circle. If you would like to explore how to bring outplacement services to your company, or if you're just curious what it could look like, reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn at Mindy East, and you can also find me on Instagram or at my website, www.limerockcareerco.com. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend or a coworker, or even better, connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts. Until next time, remember, people success isn't just about hiring right, it's also about how we support people on their way out.